Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Millennium TV News. This is Ishra Jahan with the top stories. US troops in Afghanistan, Taliban resurgence sees rethink. Mother of condemned Saudi man appeals to Obama for help. PMQ's Corbyn and Cameron clash over tax credits. S&P Conference 2015, Nicola Sturgeon makes appeal to no voters. Migrant crisis, EU leaders meet with focus on Turkey. Now, the details. President Barack Obama will outline the plans later. They are expected to include keeping 5,500 troops in the country when he leaves office in 2017. Originally, all but a small embassy-based force were due to leave by the end of next year. But the US military says more troops will be needed to help Afghan forces counter a growing Taliban threat. The US forces will be stationed in 4 locations in Kabul, Bagram, Jalalabad, and Kandahar. A statement from the US National Security Council said the change in policy was the result of an extensive months-long review. And after Mr. Obama had consulted with his full national security team and our Afghan partners, this announcement in no way changes the fact that our combat mission in Afghanistan has ended. And we will continue to undertake only 2 narrow missions: counterterrorism and training, advising and assisting our Afghan partners, the statement went on. There are currently 9,800 US troops stationed in Afghanistan. Last week, the top US military commander in Afghanistan, Gen. John Campbell, said the US must consider boosting its military presence there beyond 2016. He was speaking days after Taliban briefly seized the northern city of Kunduz, their most spectacular military gain since being ousted from power in 2001. Afghan government forces battled to retake control of key areas of the city with the aid of US airstrikes. Gen. Campbell expressed concern over the tenuous security situation and said an enhanced military presence would be necessary if the Taliban were to be repelled. Ali Muhammad Baqir al-Nimr was arrested in 2012 when he was 17 and convicted of sedition, rioting, and robbery. His mother Nusra al-Ahmed called his sentence of crucifixion beheading, followed by the public display of his body, backwards in the extreme. An Obama administration official said it was deeply concerned by the case. Mrs. Ahmed told The Guardian on Wednesday, Mr. Obama is the head of this world and he can interfere and rescue my son. He would be the rescuing us from a great tragedy. Ali al-Nimr was sentenced to death by the Specialized Criminal Court, a special security and counter-terrorism court, in May 2014. The sentence was upheld both by the Appellate Division of the SCC and the Supreme Court earlier this year, without his or his lawyer's knowledge, according to Amnesty International. He could be executed as soon as King Salman ratifies the sentence. Human rights groups have called for clemency for Ali al-Nimr, but the country's embassy in the UK has said it rejects any form of interference in its international affairs. Unlike his first outing, the Labour leader asked his own follow-up questions to those submitted by email. These were largely focused on tax credits and housing. This was a more effective strategy than on his debate, but added, did it really put the Prime Minister under much pressure? Not yet. Mr. Corbyn, who has called for a kinder politics, attempted some put-downs to the Prime Minister, saying Mr. Cameron was doing his best, and telling the Commons he would bring the Prime Minister back to reality. When he was heckled from the opposition benches, the Prime Minister asked Labour MPs what happened to the new approach. But she said it would be wrong to hold an early rerun of the independence referendum without strong evidence. No voters had changed their minds. Ms. Sturgeon believed the SNP remained the best party to govern Scotland, and she said if her party were to win a 3rd term in next May's election, it would build 50,000 affordable homes. Ms. Sturgeon told delegates that the plan would be worth £3 billion. The conference in Aberdeen is the largest the SNP has held. The SNP has enjoyed remarkable success since last year's referendum, winning all but 3 of Scotland's 59 seats in the general election earlier this year. Ms. Sturgeon, who is the SNP leader and Scotland's first minister, addressed the possibility of a second independence referendum in her opening speech. Nearly 600,000 migrants have reached the EU by sea so far this year. Turkey is hosting some 2 million migrants, most of them fleeing their war in neighboring Syria. Ahead of this summit, German Chancellor Angela Merkel stressed the need for a joint EU effort to tackle the crisis and said Turkey played a key role. Most war refugees that come to Europe travel via Turkey. We won't be able to order to stem the refugee movement without working with Turkey, she told the German parliament on Thursday morning. Most EU leaders are convinced that efforts to contain the migration crisis will not succeed without closer cooperation with the Turkish government. But he adds, Ankara wants plenty in return, more financial aid to ease the strain of hosting refugees as well as visa liberalization and progress on Turkey's stalled application for EU membership. Activist Cenk Tosun was filmed being led away in handcuffs and beaten by police for several minutes on 15 October 2014. On Thursday, Mr. Tosun was told he would also be charged for assault and resisting arrest, charges he described as groundless. The case attracted widespread criticism of the normally respected police force. Last year's incident took place during mass pro-democracy demonstrations and sit-ins that drew tens of thousands of their peak and paralyzed Hong Kong streets for more than 2 months. The grainy footage of a group of plainclothes officers assaulting an unarmed protester was one of the most shocking images to emerge from the demonstrations. The BBC's Juliana Liu in Hong Kong reports, the beating led to accusations of police brutality and tarnished the image of law enforcement in Hong Kong, our correspondent adds. The authorities suspended the officers and launched an investigation shortly after the footage was aired on local media. However, the police have been criticized for not naming the charging of officials till now. On Thursday, Mr. Tosun's lawyer told that the Civic Party activist now faced 1 count of assault and 4 counts of resisting arrest. Mr. Tosun told reporters the charges had not been mentioned to him before and were ridiculous and against the facts. All this should not be happening 1 year later. I feel the government is just trying to make a stand by arresting me, he said. However, the chairman of the Junior Police Officers Association said the police and the Department of Justice have been transparent in their work and always follow established procedures. Viewers, comment with the headlines here. Myanmar signs peace deal with armed rebel groups. Subhash Chandra Bose, Indian government to classify files. Will do everything necessary for enclave dwellers' welfare, PM. Rajan murder prime accused Kamrul repatriated from KSA. VW ordered to recall 2.4 million cars in Germany. Let's move to the next news. President Thein Sein said the deal had opened up the road to future peace in Myanmar, also known as Burma. But the most active of rebel groups have not signed the agreement, which comes after 2 years of negotiation. Myanmar has been engaged in armed conflict with various ethnic and other groups, seeking greater autonomy since independence from the British in 1948. The violence has left tens of thousands dead over the years, displaced hundreds of thousands more, and has been used by the military to justify its long hold on political power. Resolving the conflict is seen as central to Myanmar's attempt to reform after decades of military rule. Some in India have questioned the official version of events that Bose died in an aeroplane crash in 1945. Bose had approached Germany and Adolf Hitler to form an army to end British rule in India and was wanted by Allied forces. His death has been the subject of many conspiracy theories. No photograph of the body, which was said to have been cremated in Taiwan, was released. Reports say the government has 39 classified files in its possession. Prime Minister Narendra Modi made the announcement on Wednesday after meeting 35 members of Bose's extended family in Delhi. He said on social media that the declassification of files will begin on 23rd January, the day of Bose's birth. There is no need to strangle history. Nations that forget their history lack the power to create it, Mr. Modi said. He said he would also request foreign governments, beginning with Russia on December, to declassify files they have on Bose. Theories about what really happened to Bose range from him being a Russian prisoner in Siberia to the claim that he spent his years hiding in India as a holy man. Last month, the government in West Bengal state declassified 64 files on Bose, but analysts say that the files in Kolkata was not as important as the still classified files in Delhi. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said at a program in Dashiya Chhara, Kurigram on Thursday that the former enclave dwellers are now the citizens and dear ones of Bangladesh and the government would do everything necessary for their welfare. The nights of endless sorrows are over and you have come towards the path enlightened with new sunlight. Your march forward will continue. I pray that the lives of these people become beautiful and successful, the PM said while addressing a civic gathering at former Indian enclave Dashiya Chhara under Fulbari Upazila in Kurigram. This is the first ever visit of PM to a former enclave after the historic enclave swap with India on August 31, 2015. Prime Minister had inaugurated 643 power connections to the residents of Dashiya Chhara, the largest former enclave. Power connections were also provided to former enclaves in Nilphamari and Panchgarh districts. She also distributed 5 solar home systems among the residents of Dashiya Chhara. This is the first time in 68 years the enclave dwellers will be able to experience electricity. Dashiya Chhara is no longer a Chit Mahal. This is now a part of Fulbari. This is the new flower of Fulbari and I have come to visit here. Every citizen of the area is now a new flower, the PM said. The PM told the crowd that she wanted to come visit the enclave dwellers but before could not do so as they were not Bangladeshi lands. Where would I have gone? You have no address, now you do. You are Bangladeshi citizens now. We have arranged for citizens' rights like electricity and healthcare for the former enclave dwellers, the PM said. She reminded the new citizens of Bangladesh that they should never think that even they are enclave dwellers. Never say that you are enclave dwellers. Don't even think that. You are now citizens of Bangladesh, remember that, the PM said. The former enclave dwellers were given citizenship status and now can get all the government services. The prime accused of the 13-year-old boy Rajan murder case in Sylhet, Kamrul Islam, has been brought back to Dhaka from Saudi Arabia by police personnel. Assistant Commissioner of the Sylhet Metropolitan Police, Muhammad Rahmatullah, informed reporters that the flight carrying Kamrul and the police officers landed on Hazrat Shahjalal International Airport in Dhaka on Thursday 3 p.m. The Home Ministry had asked the Saudi government to repatriate Kamrul via the Foreign Ministry and the Saudi government approved. Kamrul fled to Saudi Arabia after allegedly torturing 13-year-old Rajan to death at Kumargan on July 8. Later, when the video emerged and went viral on social media, Bangladeshi expatriates in Saudi caught him with the help of Bangladesh Consulate General in Jeddah. Later, he was handed over to Saudi police on July 13th. A total of 10, including Kamrul's brothers Ali Haidar and Mohit Alam, had been arrested. Shamim Ahmed, another brother of Kamrul, is among the 3 who are absconding. A red notice was issued by the Interpol in order to repatriate Kamrul. There are arrest warrants against the absconding suspects of the case, Kamrul, Shamim and Pavel. Kamrul will be shown arrested by the police now and the 2 other warrants will remain on board. Viewers, now the business news. It was the lowest jobless rate since the second quarter of 2008, the Office of National Statistics said. The number of people out of work was 1.77 million between June and August, down 79,000 from the previous quarter. The number in work rose by 140,000, bringing the employment rate to 73.6%, the highest rate since records began in 1971. Some 22.77 million people were working full-time in the 3 months to August, up to 291,000 compared with the same period last year. The number working part-time rose to 68,000 to 8.35 million. German media reports suggest that the KBA earlier rejected Volkswagen's proposal that car owners could voluntarily bring their car in for repair. Meanwhile, Italian police have raided Volkswagen's office in Verona and Lamborghini offices in Bologna. Reports suggest Italian prosecutors investigating alleged commercial fraud. Separately, the man tipped to become Volkswagen's North America boss has resigned. The company said Winfried Wahland was leaving because of differing views on the organization of the new group region. Last month, authorities in the US discovered some Volkswagen diesel cars had been fitted with a device to cheat emission tests. The carmaker subsequently admitted that up to 11 million cars worldwide could have the device fitted. The company has launched a thorough investigation into the scandal, but new chairman Hans-Dieter Porsche has warned that answers could take some time. Volkswagen has set aside €6.5 billion to cover the costs of the scandal, but some experts believe the final bill could be much higher. Shares in the company recovered slightly last week but are still down almost 20% since the scandal broke down in the middle of September. Viewers, now the sports news. Thousands of supporters sang the Catalan anthem and chanted down with the Spanish justice outside the court as he faced charges of disobeying a court ban on November 2014 vote. Hundreds of regional mayors joined the protest at the Catalonia Supreme Court. About 80% of people backed Catalan independence from Spain in the non-binding vote. However, turnout in Spain's northeastern region was not high, with only 2.2 million people voting out for an electorate of more than 5 million. Spain's central government in Madrid has pledged to challenge any unilateral move towards independence in court, urging that actions are against the constitution. National polls in Spain are to be held on 20th December. The Catalan leader's supporters complain the judicial case against him and two colleagues is politically motivated. As well as civil disobedience, he faces charges of misusing public funds for the vote. He told the court he was completely responsible for the vote but said, "I don't understand why I'm here giving explanations." Last month, pro-independence parties in Catalonia won a majority in regional elections but fell short of securing 50% of the vote. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison in 2014 after being found guilty of culpable homicide or manslaughter. He shot Riva Steenkamp through a locked bathroom door but said he thought she was an intruder. The prosecution has appealed, saying he should instead be convicted of murder. That case is expected to be heard on 3rd November. Pistorius has spent 12 months in jail and now will spend the rest of his sentence under what is termed in South Africa correctional supervision, the parole board said. An earlier decision to release him in August was blocked by South Africa's Justice Minister Michael Masutha, who said it had been made prematurely. At that time, Ms. Steenkamp's family had said that 10 months behind bars was not enough. Responding to Thursday's decision, a lawyer speaking for the Steenkamp family said her parents had expected the early release even though they opposed it, adding that nothing could bring back their daughter. The Pistorius family said they have received the news of his planned release but are not making any further comment. During his house arrest, Pistorius is likely to face restriction in terms of gun ownership and may have to continue getting psychotherapy. Viewers, let's have a look at Millennium TV News Recap. US troops in Afghanistan, Taliban resurgence sees rethink. Mother of condemned Saudi man appeals to Obama for help. PMQ's Corbyn and Cameron clash over tax credits. S&P Conference 2015, Nicola Sturgeon makes appeal to no voters. Migrant crisis, EU leaders meet with focus on Turkey. You are up to date with our top stories so far here on Millennium TV, and don't forget to log into www.millenniumtv.net. Thank you and stay with Millennium TV. Allah Hafiz.